May I come, sir?
Yes, coming. Please have a seat.
Thank you, sir.
Welcome. This is MD Ghulam Mustafa. Will be taking your speaking test, and the examiner's number is 44661, and the candidate is Abu Bakr Siddiq Farbes, and the candidate number is 005506. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir. How are you?
I'm fine, and you?
I'm also fine. Thank you for asking.
Could you tell me what is your full name, please?
My full name is Abu Bakr Siddiq Parvez, but I would be glad if you address me with Parvez.
May I see your identification, please?
Sure, sir. Here you are.
That's fine. Thank you.
Pleasure.
Now, in this first part, I would like to ask you some questions about yourself. Are you a student or do you work now?
Sir, I accomplished my graduation degree 3 years back. Now I have been working as a teacher and I enjoy this profession a lot.
Where do you live in your country?
I live at Gulabganj. It's one of the upazilas of Sylhet divisions, and to be honest, it's a nice place to live in.
Okay. Will you live in this area in the future?
I cannot warranty it, but there might be possible for any specific reason I have to shift another city or any area. But I will not leave this area forever because it's my route, and I'm much fascinated with the facilities provided by this for a citizen in this area.
Okay, let's talk about rubbish or plastic garbage. According to you, are you a tidy person?
It's quite tough for me to make the proper measurement, but I would say that I'm not much tidy, and but it's also true that I don't like to be much clumsy. I like my surroundings to be clean, but sometimes it happens that I willingly or unwillingly, consciously or subconsciously make the environment dirty.
What do you do when you see rubbish on the street?
Actually, to be honest, it depends on the circumstances. For instance, what am I doing at the time? Am I stationary or in a mobile situation? When I'm on the street walking, or if I find something that is affordable for me to take off, then I just remove it. But in other situations, if the obstacle is heavy, then I take the help of other people.
So do you think it's important to keep the city clean?
Definitely, it's very crucial for not only the citizens or inhabitants of the area. Sometimes it's urgent for the people who are coming from outside to travel here, and it attracts them, and they're just more likely to come here again and again, and it can turn into a tourist place if it is clean.
Have you ever done something to help the environment?
From my own capability, I would say that I didn't did something mentionable, but I would say that I did which is beyond my capacity. I mean, within my capacity. For instance, I just make sometimes awareness among the people living around me. For instance, my family members, friends, classmates, etc., etc.
So do you think schools should educate children to protect the environment?
Obviously, it should be included in the academic textbooks, because if children are taught from their childhood to be aware about the environment where they're living in, they would be working better in the future, and that would bring not only honor for the single area, that would be actually working nationwide, I mean the whole area of the country.
So let's move on to the another topic about the law. According to you, law and order are important?
Obviously, it's important because if there is no rules and regulations, it might be possible that people are committing crimes immensely, and they will be reckless, and they will not be able, and the people will not be able to live properly with peace, and economically it also damages the whole country.
Who is most responsible for enforcing the law?
So far, I know that the legislative teams, like the people associated with the members, especially members of the parliament, they are working to make new laws. But the army, police, they are most responsible to implement them in reality.
Okay. Should laws be more universal?
Actually, it should not be said like that. That all kind of laws should be universal. For instance, the in some areas there are more forests. So in that area, there should be environmental law focusing on the protection of the wildlife or trees. In some areas where much deserts, they will be focusing on protecting land. So same law should not be universal. It will be depending on the circumstances. For instance, like the geography, like the economical condition, etc., etc.
How do people in your country generally think about obeying laws?
Frankly speaking, people of our country, they are not all the people are obeying or disobeying the law. The people who have least education, they just like to respect the law because they believe that if they follow the rules and regulations, it might be bringing something positive, and the outcome will be very effective for their children, and they try to abide the law. But some people who just think about own self, about their own interest, like some bad politician, bad businessmen, they just don't like to abide by the laws.
Okay, thank you. That brings us to the end of part one. Now I am going to give you a topic, and I would like you to talk about it for 1 to 2 minutes. So before you talk, you will have 1 minute to think about what you are going to say. So you can make some notes as you wish. So do you understand? Here is your cue card and paper and pencil. Your time starts now for thinking.
Sorry.
So, all right. Remember, you have 1 to 2 minutes for this. So don't worry if I stop you. I will tell you when the time is up. So can you start speaking now, please?
Okay, sir, thank you for providing the topic. And to be honest, since my childhood, I have been much trying to know and gather knowledge regarding science. Especially, I want to know much about the invention and discoveries made by different scientists and other people. And I would like to mention one of the shows that was published in television, and that is The Science of Stupid. Actually, not only I who is fascinated by this program, but there are plenty of students of my age who are fond of this one. Actually, not only this one is trying to teach us science, sometimes it is also providing the situation where we make common mistakes and we underestimate the power of science, and for as a result we suffer. And it was first published in 2014, so far I remember, in the Discovery Channel, National Geographic Channel, and some other channel also covered in different languages. And I used to watch in Hindi language because I felt comfortable at the time. And they had total around 90 episodes, and each of the episodes was much attractive, and I came to know about the day-to-day life mistakes we make about science. And not only that, we also get some of the remedies from this. How can we easily solve the problems that we face in our day-to-day life? And science is everywhere. And I used to watch 1 hour every day at evening time, and I still remember some of the stories. People are making mistakes when they were walking on the streets, and sometimes being fallen down from the bicycle. Sometimes they are trying to climb up the trees and failing. So this kind of situations proving so many things like it is helping us to create the sense of humors and full of energy. I still
Okay,
can.
thank you so much. So your time is up.
Thank you, sir.
So could I have the booklet, the paper and pencil, please?
Thank you, sir.
So now I will ask you some more general questions for the part 3. So related to the topic of part 2. So how interested are most people in your country in science?
It will be quite difficult to say about all the people, but so far, according to my knowledge, I can say people who are associated with education, for instance, the teenagers, high school students, and researchers, they are much interested about the science, and it fascinates the young boys and girls who are much energetic and they just want to prove themselves creative. I have seen a lot of young boys who are inventing robots and they're working with drone. So I'll not say all people are interested, but now more young boys and girls are interested.
Why do you think children today might be better at science than their parents?
It's very predictable because earlier time, if I consider 30 years back when the internet were not available and people did not get the equipments needed or necessary for their inventions or research, and they had to depend on their own imagination, and sometimes they used to have the materials from the past knowledge from books or other people. But now we have everything. They have computers, mobile phones, speedy internet, etc., etc.
How do you suggest the public can learn about scientific developments?
It's a difficult question. I think simple sources of knowing about science is the television programs, newspaper, different articles, or we can hear or have some talks on different platforms like YouTube made by the researchers or the scholars associated with scientific inventions or creativity.
So what do you think are the most important scientific discoveries in the last 100 years?
Plethora of inventions captivates me, but among them I would like to mention about the internet. It's because even 10 years ago I was not able to do something that I desired to do, and I actually was upset. For instance, if I talk about filling up a form for admission, I was not able to do that, but now we can do it. Not only that, so many things and platforms are created because of this. People are doing jobs, education is going on. I mean, plenty of facilities just facilitated by this one. So I would say that it's a wonder of modern science.
Do you agree or disagree that there are no major scientific discoveries left to make?
I agree that we should not be focusing on any kind of new scientific invention. It's just because that if we consider last few years with the advancement of technologies, people are getting some comfortness. This is true, but on the other hand, ultimately they are losing the speed of life. Wars among the nations, political pressures, economical collapse, and if I talk about the latest pandemic attack, and all of the things, if we make in a single consideration, I would say that we can develop the inventions that we already have. We should not be working on anything new. And if we make the development that we already have, then we can use it on the benefit of the mankind.
So who should pay for scientific research? Governments or public companies? Sorry, private companies.
Actually, it is depending on the institution, on the country, and other circumstances. I cannot mention right now, but I think if the country is capable of funding behind any kind of research regarding science, for instance, even in the United States of America, Russia, Canada, they have the money to do something and invest on, but the country like ours is not always capable of focusing on this, because the poorer countries, they will be much busy with fulfilling the fundamental rights of the people, like education, healthcare, etc., etc. And if I talk about the private companies, yes, they should be doing if they have, or they have the authorization in some of the cases. Like if we talk about some first world countries, they have their own organization or company. They're working for the SpaceX by Elon Musk. So it is depending. It cannot be fixed.
Okay, thank you. So that brings us to the end of part 3. So now is the time of your feedback. But you know about instant feedback is quite difficult to make a proper judgment due to lack of full-time concentration. So not only for us, but also the main examiner of British Council. So that's why your speaking test has been recorded, and so that proper feedback can be provided as soon as possible, inshallah.
Thank you, sir.
So I would like to say about the 4 criteria of your speaking test has been done. First and foremost, I would like to mention about your grammatical range. You did it well. The grammar was fine, but there are minor mistakes. I found it. And then you used a lot of advanced vocabulary. I mean, there was a wide range advanced vocabulary. I found it like that: circumstance, stationary, mesmerized, clumsy, immensely mentionable, outcome. So in this case, you have successfully done. And one thing is very mesmerizing: your fluency was up to the mark, according to my knowledge. So there were not various types of problems in this case. But self-preparation was going on at that time. I found it for your speaking test. Like that, you said again and again, actually, for instance, and beyond my capacity. You corrected it once again. You said within capacity. So okay, I am optimistic that if you focus on your this sector, self-preparations will be correct. So then you will accomplish a good result. I firmly believe that. And there were minor mistakes of pronunciation. You said that basically, not basically, basically, and you should. You said that economically. No, this is the wrong word. So you should say economically. So overall, I would say that about your score would be like 8, and no less than 8 will be accomplished by you at the end of the day, because I found it your confidence level and proficiencies. You showed your variety. I mean, there are a lot of variation of the sentences, and you used 3 tenses. You said firstly, I have been. That was present perfect continuous tense. Yeah, so there are a variation of the sentences. So I would count the mark. I mean band score. Your score is 8.
Thank you. So thank you.
Okay. So before that, finishing our main feedback, just remember it. There we have ups and downs, but you have to make up usually and go the extra mile to achieve a good score, like that 8.5. Okay, thank you so much.